Estimation isn't broken. People are, systems are, companies are. The problem isn't story points or any other estimating technique. It's how humans think, and no framework fixes that.
Well, on that happy note, welcome to this podcast. I'm Pat Campbell with Agility IRL, and joining me today to talk about this wonderful topic, I won't say everybody's favorite topic, is Mike Studeman.
Welcome to the Agility in Real Life podcast, Take Five in Real Life. Now your hosts, Mike Studeman, Jeff Lee, and Pat Campbell.
Welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Pat. I hope you're having a good day. Excited to be talking about, as you said, everyone's favorite topic, estimation. I think just about every team that we coach, every team that we work with, ends up struggling with that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they tend to trip and fall, not because of the method of estimation, but because of the psychology around it.
Yeah, the psychology is really quite fascinating. Not that you or I are trained psychologists, but I think we have to, we talk about this with the teams that we coach. Why do we estimate in the first place? And it's really because we want predictability out of the system, out of the process.
Mhm.
Uh, and there's some irony there because estimates aren't predictions. They're guesses. In fact, listeners, if you take nothing else away from this episode, take this away. An estimate by definition is wrong. Right? That's the headline there. They're guesses, but they do give us that illusion of control, and that's really what we all, our organizations want, our teams want, we as individuals want, we as humans want. We don't really care about accuracy as much as we care about certainty.
Absolutely, and that's what originally drove a lot of the waterfall frameworks. Unfortunately, estimation doesn't create certainty, and it creates the illusion of it, as you mentioned. And unfortunately, what actually drives estimates is bias. And there's a term called cognitive bias. Again, I'll say again, Mike and I are not psychologists, but this is a concept associated with estimation. There's anchoring, which is the first number thrown out sets the tone for the estimation that's going to follow. And then there's optimism bias, where we underestimate complexity of the work involved. And of course, there's social pressure. Teams tend to or like to converge on what they feel are safe answers. And suddenly your estimate is no longer data, it's group psychology.
Yeah, I mean, you end up not estimating the work. You end up estimating how comfortable we all are with that illusion of certainty, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if we need to articulate all the symptoms here, but because we've all lived it, you and I have lived it, our listeners have lived it. The estimates end up being wrong, the deadline slips, nobody trusts each other, and the teams get blamed. And as we've been talking about, Pat, the teams really aren't at fault. The system is the problem because the uncertainty inherent within it is never fully addressed. It's just hidden. And estimates don't reduce uncertainty. They simply hide them. So, Pat, just to be clear, we're saying all estimates are bad. Teams should stop that immediately and just develop.
It sounds like it doesn't, but but don't get us wrong. There is a place for it, especially with teams new to Agile that are trying to figure out how do they map capacity to the work. And so it's almost like training wheels, using story points correctly, and the Delphi method, which underlies how that is done. We won't get into that in detail, but it's a starting point. But as teams mature, they'll want to quickly move into some other approaches that we're going to talk about now, because there are better approaches that stop hiding the uncertainty behind what we think it's going to take to get work done. And that's shifting from estimating to measuring. And we're talking about measuring flow metrics, where we use things like throughput, cycle time, and historical data to tell us about what the flow is and not guess at it. Past performance is real data, and estimates are opinions. So as a team matures, they should start to pivot from using those opinions and trying to get accuracy out of those, and focus more on past performance and those flow metrics. So they need to stop guessing what the future is going to be and start measuring what the present actually is.
Yeah, you and I did a whole series on flow metrics. So for listeners, I want to go dive deep into those flow metrics. I encourage you to look at those episodes. But it's really important that teams get to that real empirical data. I mean, if you look at two teams, one that estimates every story with story points or some other estimating technique, the other is tracking flow metrics like throughput, WIP. Which one's going to get more predictable? The one using real data, because it's real data. It's empirical. It's based upon what the team knows. The team's able to adapt and they're adapting based upon reality instead of pretending to know what's actually going on.
Exactly, Mike. And if estimation is slowing you down or not giving you predictable results, the place to start, and echoing back to that series Mike and I did, as he mentioned, limit your work in process and start tracking cycle time to complete things. And then use the throughput for your forecasting, your actual throughput. And finally, accept uncertainty and don't try to achieve the unachievable, because that's the reality when it comes to knowledge work. And it will take some education of your leadership as well,
Absolutely.
that things are not completely certain when it comes to knowledge work.
And they're never going to be certain. So as we wrap up this episode, I mean, I think I would kind of summarize. Look, estimation isn't a solution. It's a coping mechanism. Once again, we're not trained psychologists or counselors. That sounds a little armchair psychologist. But if you want better outcomes from your product development process, stop trying to predict everything. Start building systems based upon flow metrics that adapt based upon that real empirical data. Pat, any final words of wisdom? Any other psychological advice that you want to disavow?
Well, I would say, reality doesn't suck. Reality works.
That might be the title for this episode.
There you go. So yeah, use your actual data and get in the present. Stop trying to live in the future.
Sounds like great advice. I've enjoyed this conversation. If you need any help with understanding estimation and getting those full metrics in place, don't hesitate to reach out to us at Agility IRL. Thanks, Pat, for joining me on this episode. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mike, and everybody have a wonderful day and weekend.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Take Five IRL podcast. If you like it, please go ahead and share it with someone, as well as like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Also, leave us a comment or a suggestion for a future episode. Again, thanks for listening, and we look forward to you joining us next time on the Take Five IRL podcast.